So, what can you tell me about, I guess, the transition from low mid-tail launches to high-power launches?
That happened a little bit later because
Okay.
we were specifically excluded from having high-powered launches. Our launch site was not a high-powered launch site, and that was a process that happened. We had to make application, and we had to do a whole pile of things. We had to do environmental impact studies. We had no idea how to do an environmental impact study, so Google came in quite good, and CASA were very, very supportive of us. So they basically said, well, you need to consider the following things, and they gave us a set of headings, and we wrote one-paragraph responses to that, and we eventually got the site classed as a high-powered launch site.
Right. Yep.
That was still somewhat of a problem because we had to apply no more than 72 hours before and no less than 48 hours before. So we had this very narrow window where we had to apply for a window. So if you're flying on a Sunday, you had to basically lodge all your paperwork on the Friday.
Yep.
And that was well and good while you were dealing with normal, everyday people who knew the job. You'd quite often have people who they'd say, look, I've got something on this afternoon, we'll do this on Monday. You have a launch scheduled on Sunday.
So is that for lodging the NOTAM, or is that advising there's going to be high power?
That was to lodge the NOTAM. A person by the name of Anna Henry, who is a CASA officer, said, why don't you apply for a permanent danger area? And that way you haven't got to, you still have to lodge a NOTAM, but we don't have to do all the checks and balances and say it was, you're launching in a danger area which has specifically been created for the purposes of launching high-powered rockets. And it's activated by NOTAM.
And roughly when was that?
That probably would have been about March of the following year, I think, by the time it finally went through. We had a couple of near misses where they were saying, yeah, we'll probably go through, but we'll give you the approval on Monday. And for them, the difference between Friday afternoon and Monday was nothing. So there were several NOTAMs that weren't issued until late in the day.
Okay, so we're at the point now where we've got your NOTAMs, you've got a 5,000-foot ceiling, and you've got approval for high-power motors. So what happens next? Like, is there a rush for people to do L1s? Is there a rush to import motors?
No, we didn't have a prefecture even at that stage. So we had to get a prefecture.
Tripoli was around and you guys were aware of it?
Many of us were Tripoli members, but we still didn't have any, I think I had joined Tripoli back in the day before QRS was formed. A couple other people had joined, thinking that once we became members, we would quickly benefit from Tripoli, but that wasn't the case. There was a new Tripoli prefecture starting to look in Western Australia, and we started communicating with the prefect, Dave Cousins. And Dave Cousins said, I'll hop on a plane and I'll bring motors over and show you how to do it. So Dave hopped on a plane and flew to Southeast Queensland. We had a Saturday launch, and he could only bring, he bought several H motors. I think they were H73s. They were small H's. He bought them over, and he bought 2 J motors over. And so to have a prefect, we had to have someone qualify as level 2. So the first rocket that went up came back in pieces about the size of a postage stamp.
No recollection of who the owner was?
Yeah, it was a gentleman by the name of Ari.
Haven't heard that name before.
Haven't heard that name before.
Doesn't know what he's doing, that guy.
Anyway, the other person who then had his rocket, because they loaded both motors, and I don't know how we decided who would fly. Ari wanted to fly, so he put his rocket up, and it came back in. I think it had a problem with shear pins. Or it didn't have shear pins. That was the nature of the problem, and so the top popped off, and then it was just shredded into pieces. It was quite spectacular. It was just like confetti raining back down to earth. Brian Dixon was the other person. He had the flight, and he had a bullpup, and it just worked.
Great.
It went up and down.
It went up and
Wow,
down. It
okay.
was as it was supposed to. A very simple launch,
Yep.
and that's all you need to get an
Yes,
L2 was a
yep.
very simple launch.
Yes. So that was L1 and L2 for Brian.
No, it was L1.
It was L1. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Brian did his L1.
Yep.
And did his L2
The same day.
same day. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
How did Dave manage to get his hands on the H&J motors?
I believe he was buying them through a Western Australian motor supplier.
Yep.
Who was supplying rockets to an organisation called PARC, which was Perth Advanced Rocketry Club.
Okay.
And they had an arrangement with a hobby shop essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm using it's bite.
Yeah, so he had rockets, or he had a supply of rockets, and he'd had a falling out with the club, but he'd already purchased several rockets, so he brought his stock over, and we taught us how to do Aeropack relays in the morning,
Nice.
and we all had to do our tests beforehand.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Was there a test for L1?
No, but we didn't know who was going to qualify. So everyone had to do the test. Yeah, everyone had to do the test.
I might point out, this was a secretive meeting. Nobody, apart from the people that were involved, knew it. And of course, Len, who can't help himself, posted a cryptic post on the forum.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and I sent a reply. Hang on, for this to happen, because his rocket landed in the dam, and it was freezing cold. He pulled it out, and then he tipped the water on his foot.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I sent, hey, hang on, this must have been a H motor. But no one's certified.
There's some things we just don't discuss.
And then Len quickly sent me a private message and said, this is hush hush. And went from there.
Yeah, so
so that was the same day Brian did his L1.
Brian, we all
Wow.
we only had Dave Cousins over for the weekend.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew Dave was there apart from these guys.
How was Dave known to the club back then?
Through the forum.
Well, I think we had a couple people. We were investigating a prefecture.
Yep.
And if I got toothpicks here, George, feel free.
Yeah.
You can grab them if you want. By hand, or do yourself a toothpick.
Right. No, there was a forum that was run by Blake and Dave, and I remember when he actually joined, and it turned out he had an interest in Japanese culture, and he had he's got a samurai in a glass case in his main living room, and
They come out if you want to pull the container tray out.
Too much. So that's really where Dave Cousins was well known.
Okay, that's interesting.
There had been another chap. There had been a previous forum that members of us were on, and it was a forum of the Perth Advanced Rocketry Club.
Okay.
And it was run by a chap. I forget the chap's name now, but his name was Impact on the forum.
Okay.
And
what I'd heard about the forum, the only one I knew, which is one run by Blake, was that the previous forum only had finite storage space, so a lot of info was getting deleted. So Blake grabbed what was there and kept it all so that we had that repository of information.
That's what it was privately run. It was becoming a pain for the bloke. Yeah. He worked in an electrical store, I think a Harvey Norman type store, somewhere down near Albany, and we'd met several people who'd been on the. We had actually become quite friendly with several of the people in Western Australia. Prior to that, Stephen Forth and his boys from the wheat belt down in Western Australia.
So Brian Dixon's got his L2.
Got his L2.
And now you've got he's the prefect, I assume. The first
He's the
prefect.
prefect. We then had to get it. We then had to get
Yep.
the prefecture approved by the board of directors.
Yep.
And there was a board of directors meeting coming up, and Ari was planning on going to Western Australia.
Yep.
Dave Cousins was planning to go to Western Australia, and they made representation to the board of directors at the annual general meeting, and we lodged our application. They were more than happy to have another prefecture because Western Australia was already a prefecture, and I think Victoria may have had was a prefecture as well.
Yep.
And yeah, they just needed to approve our launch site and launch procedures.
Yep.
And we dealt with a chap by the name of Dave Wilkins.
Yep.
From the Victorian.
Yep.
Yep. So we then had to have a lot of communication with Dave Wilkins.
So
about getting our launch site, which was approved by CASA, was approved by Air Services, the Office of the Airspace Regulator had already approved it. Dave had to approve it.
Okay. So we've got a prefecture, we've got a prefect, and the prefect could approve the L1 and L2s.
Yeah. Yes.
So what do we have next? Like a flight, you go off your L2, and George is thinking about doing L1 and L2. Is that right?
I didn't do my L2 for a little while after. I did my L2 at Williams.
Okay.
And Dave Cousins was a prefect.
Okay. What about you, George, on the L1 and L2s?
Yeah, they were both at Cedar Grove in the year 2010.
Okay. Yep.
Because I went from L0 to L2 in 1 year.
Nice.
That's why you don't have your L1 card.
That's probably why, because the sequence is right. It's the same year, actually. Yeah. 2010.
Okay.
I went with the option of caution. So I had it.
Is that an option, is it?
Well, we did see we did see people rock up to do certification flights that threw caution to the wind.
Yep. Okay.
With the inevitable results.
Yep.
So I launched with a Ariel. I think it was a big Callisto.
Yeah.
I could have done it on a Callisto, but it would have gone scary high.
Okay.
And that L1 just went like clockwork.
Perfect.
And then a bigger public missiles rocket.
They were all public missiles rockets in those days, weren't they?
Yeah, somewhat bigger one, 2-star, dual deployment. Yeah, so it was a bit more complicated.
Nice. Okay.
It also went without any drama whatsoever.
Nice.
And that was L2. So it was a while then before L3 came along, possibly.
I think for you
4 years.
Yeah, I think it was 2014. I think I was there for your L3 at Anara. Yeah.
Yes, it was. That also went without a hitch.
Yeah, perfect.
The only thing that landed on the road about a K up the road got a bit of scratching.
Send the kids up. Yeah, I remember you flew that with 2 Raven 3s.
I had 3, mate. I had 3. I had what's that? A public missile altimeter. I had 3 altimeters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. So we're on to the topic of L3s, and obviously we need an L3 in the club to get a TAP. We need a TAP to do an L3 certification. So how did that process happen? Like, who was the first L3? Did they end up becoming the TAP?
Blake was first. Blake was first
Okay.
L3. He went down to Victoria.
Okay.
He took his L3 rocket down his carry-on luggage.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And he just sat there.
Times
People
are
looked at
different.
him, but
Times
no
are
one
different.
said anything.
Was it all sort of plugged in together? In
I'm not sure. I can't imagine it.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Inform the pilot. I'd like to speak with him.
Yes. Well.
What are your demands?
Well, and his rocket name was L3, wasn't it? ELLE3.
Oh, could have been. Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah.
So who was his TAP?
It would have been either Dave Wilkins or David Boyd.
One of those two but there's two. You've got to have 2 taps.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And it could have been Dave Cousins as well.
Yeah, it could have been. Dave.
Okay.
Pretty sure it was. We saw Dave Cousins quite a bit.
Yeah, we went over to William.
He came over to our 10th anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, so that was.
And he's been over a few times recently because I've bumped into him on Blakes. So that's in the last 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so that's great. So we've got a tap in Queensland. And what happens as far as the floodgates opening with L3s? Did that happen?
Did it? I think you could count the L3s probably on 2 hands. I don't think there was a big flood of M motors being launched.
Okay.
And those a lot of the M motors that were launched by the same people. I think Blake would have done several M motor launches.
There were a few actually at Cedar Road.
Jeff.
Jeff Wade.
We would regularly have people come over from Western Australia. I remember PK and a few other people.
Yeah, mostly
PK abbreviation Paul Kelly.
Yep.
But yeah, so it came over.
I bought some of his hardware, his electronics.
Yeah, so
Bushtronics.
Bushtronics, yeah.
So
I didn't buy his tracking devices.
Yeah, well, I did.
Yeah, I bought his Cluster-Matic.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.